Here are 3 different ways to make 3 color images. From the IRSA main page, probably the easiest tool to use to make 3 color images is the Find Your Chart tool. Click on that and it will load the tool. This tool gets the same chunk of sky from many different surveys. I'm going to put in M31 for this example, and I'm going to ask for 30 arc minutes. DSS is the Palomar Observatory Sky Survey, Digitized Sky Survey. SDSS is the Sloan Digital Sky Survey. 2MASS is the 2 micron All Sky Survey, in other words, J, H, and K bands. WISE has 4 bands between 3.5 and 22 microns. And IRSA has 4 bands as well between 25 and I believe 100 microns. When you're making 3 color images, let's turn off the corresponding catalog. Since your goal in doing this is to make a 3 color image, you don't need the catalog. Search. It's going to go away and talk to the servers and get the patch of sky we asked for from the POS plates. It didn't find any data from Sloan. From 2MASS it found data, but the 2MASS tiles are really tiny, so it looks a little funny given how big of the sky we asked for. Then there's the WISE images and the IRSA images. To make a 3 color image, go over here. There's an icon here. Click on it, and it automatically generates a 3 color image from the images that it has loaded. So for the DSS image, it's grabbed 3 different color planes to make a color image. For 2MASS, it's grabbed the 3 bands that it has, but because the tile is really tiny, the 3 color image is really tiny. There's the 3 color WISE image and the 3 color IRSA image. If you want to change or even just see which bands it's picked, I mean, for DSS, it has 5 bands to choose from, and it only chose 3 for the 3 color. Click on the image and you'll see that it's outlined in orange. Go over here and click on it, and you can see which bands it's picked. For the red band, it has DSS2 IR. For the green band, it has DSS2 red. For the blue band, it has DSS2 blue. If you want to use something else, even any of the images that you have loaded, you can pick from the pull down and it will change what it has plotted. Let's say we want DSS1 blue. Load. And then it grabs the DSS1 blue image and puts that in for the blue plane. You can do this with any of them. So for WISE, you have 4 choices. Click on the image, go up here, and it tells you the red is WISE 3, the green is WISE 2, and the blue is WISE 1. Let's change WISE 3 to WISE 4 for the red band. Load. There's the 3 color image. If you want to save these data, the 3 color image can be saved exactly as you see it here by going up to the diskette icon in the upper left and choosing to save the PNG file. A PNG file is just the same kind of image that you would save from a digital camera. It's got the colors and the stretches exactly as you see here. It is not a format in which you would want to do science on the resultant images, but it is a format that would work really well for, say, a poster or a brochure or, a class project on making 3 color images. If you want to save the original FITS files, pick that. In those cases, you get the original FITS files, and you can make your own 3 color image using different stretches and different colors separately from what it has chosen already for you in this image. So let's save the PNG file. The files are so small that it packages it right away and asks me if I want to save it. Wherever it saves it on your disk is wherever you have configured your browser to save files. Okay, so now we have FITS files on disk, and maybe we want to create a 3 color image using one of IRSA's other tools. This specific tool is called Find Your Chart. There's another more generic version of this called IRSA Viewer. This is the generic version of the same tool that we were just working on, except that it is designed to be, well, more generic. It can access images that you have on disk, it can access images at IRSA, or you can give it a URL for images elsewhere on the web. For what I'm going to do here, I want to create a 3 color image using images that I have already on disk. So I want to do Create New Plot. When I click that radio button, it immediately gives me the choices for the red, green, and blue planes. I have files already on disk. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go find where I have images that I want to use. Let's use the WISE images. This is the red plane, so it should be the longest wavelength. Okay, for the green plane, again, I want a fits file, and this time I'm going to get a shorter wavelength. And then for the blue plane, again, I want to load in a file from disk. Okay, and then search. It's going to create a 3-color image using the color planes that I told it to use. If you want to create a new version, go back to Images and ask it to create a new plot, or you can ask it to replace one of the color planes that we already have. Maybe we want to do Ys3 for the red plane, Ys2 for the green plane, and Ys1 for the blue plane. Search. And then it replaces the image that we already created with this new image. Here again, if you choose the diskette, you can ask it to save the component fits files, which in this case would be silly because we already have the fits files on disk. But you can also save the PNG file that retains the stretch and any overlays that you have on the image as you specified. The third way of making a 3-color image is using DS9. You have to have DS9 installed on your system, which may be a hardship depending on which operating system you're running. IRSA Viewer and the other IRSA tools do a lot of things that DS9 does, but there are some things that are easier in DS9 and some things that are easier in the IRSA tools. So it's worth at least exploring whether or not it works for you on your system. Because the Mac has a Unix kernel underneath, I can start things from the command line. You need to start DS9 in whatever method makes sense for you on your system. So there it's come up. Now, by default, I haven't added anything into it. It has an empty frame right here. So I could just do File Open, and it would allow me to load images into this frame. But we want to make a 3-color image. So let's go to Frame and pick RGB. It gives me a little pop-up window that has the red, green, and blue color planes. First, we need to tell it I want to load something into the red plane. So File, Open, and I can go find the red plane of whatever it is that I want to load. Let's go here, and for red we want the long wavelength, so I'll do Z. Okay, then I need to go back over here and pick green so that I load a green plane next. File, Open. Now I'm going to pick R. Okay, and then I go to blue, back to File, Open, and then pick the plane that I want for that. So for this particular image, there's not a lot going on because this is a very embedded star forming region and this is in the optical. But here, if you want to change the color stretch, you have a lot of control actually over what the color stretches are. So if we go back over here and pick the red plane, we can go up here to Scale, and we can ask it to do a whole variety of actual predefined color stretches, but you can also go to the scale parameters and look at the actual histograms of the contents of the image. So let's say we're working with the red plane, remember, we want nothing to be displayed lower than 0, and let's do 10. Okay, that looks a little goofy. Let's go over here and to green. See the histogram changes. Let's do that again. 0 and 10. Apply. Okay, and we're going to go to blue and do the same thing. 0, 10. Apply. Now the background is really black, but we have lost some of the details that are there in the image, and that's because there's so many pixels over just a tiny range of values there. We can change what we load. So let's go to red. Actually, let's make a new frame. Frame, new, RGB. I think actually, let's go check how many frames we have loaded. Frame, tile. Okay, so we have the original blank frame we started with. We have the 3-color image we already made. That's a new, this one's a new single plane, you can see there. And there, that's a new 3-color. So let's get rid of the one that I accidentally created. Let me do that again. So if we go back over to RGB, it'll make a new thing, and we still have this pop-up. So, and this image is selected. So let's do File, Open. This time let's go and get, let's see, Spitzer. we're going to get here. So we're in the red plane with the long wavelengths. I'm going to choose MIPS 1, and then we're going to do green plane and choose file open. We're going to do IRAC 2, and then we're going to do blue plane and file open IRAC 1. Now, the stretch here is extremely goofy because it is inheriting the scale that I imposed on it from over here. So let's go and change that. So for blue, let's go over to scale and do Z-scale, and we're going to do green, and we're going to do, scale, Z-scale, and then for red, we're going to do scale, where did it go, Z-scale. So let's do frame single. So that's not looking too garish. You can change the stretch, you can fiddle around with it until you see the features in the image that you're trying to bring out. Maybe in this case you're more interested in the nebulosity, or maybe you're more interested in the stars, because the stars, the bright ones at least, should appear in all of the images together. They show up as white because they have contributions from the red, green, and blue planes. But the nebulosity, you can see here, is mostly red because it's coming from the red channel. So you can change the stretch that you want, play around with it, see if you can bring out details in the image that you're interested in exploring. So there you have it, 3 different ways to make 3-color images using FITS files.